Hey guys, I'm back, Brian the botanist. Got the mushrooms in me today, as always, never miss a day. And this is a product I'm super passionate about. Anyone that knows me knows that I can't stop talking about Ultimate Shrooms. I'm really proud to say I helped create this product with the team at Live Ultimate. It was our follow-up product to the Ultimate Elixir, and it's meant for everyone, from athletes to people that just want more energy, that want to stay healthy and not get sick, for better brain function, for balanced hormone levels. But selfishly, I think we always say we created it for our own use. And as a marathon runner, I can tell you my personal experience is that these shrooms and ultimate shrooms have had an incredible impact on my stamina, on my health, vitality, and on my hopefully longevity as a runner. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a pretty serious marathon runner. I'm not the best in the world, but I do compete pretty seriously locally. I log about 50 to 100 miles a week, depending on how much time I have. I know it's a wide range. I like to be in that 80 to 90 mile per week range, which is about 11 to 12 miles a day. If you run 14 miles a day, you get to hit 100 miles in a week. But regardless, I've done 30 marathons in my life in the last 10 years. I turned 40 years old in a couple of months and started running at the age of 29 with a 4:18 marathon. That's 4 hours and 18 minutes, which is a 10-minute per mile pace. I learned how to run correctly, and I've put a lot of time into it, and now I've run 2 hours and 32 minutes in Berlin and also in Chicago and Boston, and that is a 5 minute and 48-second per mile pace. So I improved almost 90 minutes in the marathon. A lot of that was from good running form and from having great training partners and just time. Putting in the practice, the mastery of practice is what really brings mastery and excellence. But I will tell you that as I've been in the game now 10 years, it takes a tremendous amount of stamina and strength to be a marathon runner, as well as having a full-time job and being a high school coach, coaching my track club, and the other interests I have in my life. I like to go out and dance sometimes. Where do you find all that energy after you've already run 10 miles in the morning to, after a long work day, go run again or go to the gym or go to an event at night? And I would tell you that the 8 mushrooms we put in Ultimate Shrooms, Cordyceps, reishi, chaga, lion's mane, turkey tail, maitake, shiitake, and oyster, those are 8 legendary Chinese mushrooms, but they've also been used in other cultures. And the Chinese just have the richest history. They have thousands of years of use. And we did source a lot of our mushrooms from China. They're grown on wood logs, and they're grown in the countryside. They're grown without using brown rice or mycelium. They're grown as fruiting body mushrooms only. The mycelium is always present, but we didn't use the mycelium in our product. We are very proud to say that if you test our product, it has 0 starches, 0 grains, no fillers, no sugars, sweeteners, flavors, preservatives, no cheap ingredients. No, the only thing it has in it is 8 mushrooms, and those mushrooms are legendary. Cordyceps was originally reserved for the Chinese royalty only, similar to ginseng, because it has such powerful effects on your virility. Yeah, I said virility. That means your libido, your fertility, your vitality. Marathon runners need that. That's where we get our strength to perform. Everyone needs that. It also helps fight off the common flu and cold. They say it can kill things like HIV in a petri dish. I mean, these mushrooms are incredible. They're known to stimulate brain function. I mean, literally, when you drink the mushrooms, with or without coffee, it just activates everything in your brain. It's such a good feeling. And studies have shown that there's no side effects you have to be worried about. These are whole foods. These are superfoods. So if you take it 2 or 3 times a day, which sometimes I do, your body just flushes out what it can't use. It's not stored in your fat. It's not fat soluble. These are water soluble superfoods. So I take them usually before I run. I take them half an hour before I run generally to give my body a little bit of time to not have any, you don't want to run with any type of liquids, in your stomach too much. They'll slosh around. You can have a little bit, but what I did was when I ran the Berlin Marathon last September 24th, and I had the best race of my life. I had a PR of 30 seconds, but still, it was an incredible race for me. I took the Ultimate Shrooms about 1 hour before the race, right before I left my hotel, and then I jogged over to the start line, had my last second, fluids, water, Gatorade, little sport beans, but I had the shrooms, and immediately they just got me in that mindset, which is what I love about them. They get your mind really sharp and focused. So if you work in an office, I've had a lot of lawyers and accountants and business entrepreneurs tell me that they love the effects of shrooms because it's a 3 o'clock pick-me-up. You can drink this either in the morning when you wake up if you want to wean yourself off of coffee, or if you love having one coffee a day, which, by the way, coffee has a lot of nutritive qualities. It has antioxidants, it has flavonoids, phytonutrients. It's got some great stuff in there that's going to help in moderation to help with preventing even, they say, some cancers. But if it's abused, absolutely, it's a stimulant. Now, these mushrooms contain zero caffeine, but they have similar, what I would call analogous compounds that do stimulate the same type of activity as caffeine, which means they energize you. So if you want a natural energy boost, this is it. If you want a boost for anything, this is it. I mean, this is my baby. If you look at my screensaver on my phone, hold on a second. See if I can do this here because I got some. All right, let me clear off my messages. Let me reset my phone. What do you see right there? Boom, Ultimate Shrooms. That's my baby. I love it that much that I put it on my home screen. I'm proud of it. It's like a child to me that, putting these 8 mushrooms together, I really feel like Live Ultimate is onto something, that it's a synergy, and that with our uncompromising standards of using fruiting body mushrooms only and no mycelium in our products, that we are making sure that you are getting your money's worth out of your mushrooms instead of buying the cheaper mushrooms you're going to find on Amazon, at Whole Foods, at all the other online retailers. You're going to see mushrooms out there for $10 or $20. It might be an individual mushroom. It might be a collection of mushrooms. I would advocate that you check that label and see if they report where their source of their mushrooms is. Does it say myceliated substrate? Does it say mycelium full spectrum mushroom blend? Does it say fruiting bodies only? Live Ultimate says, uncompromising standards. Our mushroom blend consists of 100% mushroom fruiting bodies containing beta-glucan levels not less than 30%. Now that's important. What are beta-glucans? Beta-glucans are the active constituent inside Ultimate Shrooms that boost immunomodulating factors. Basically what that means is they stimulate your immune system, and they're known to fight off cancer. Reishi, one of the mushrooms in our blend, is the most studied mushroom in the world. It's called the queen of all mushrooms. And chaga, by the way, is the king. That's just its nickname. I didn't make that up. You can check Google. Now, reishi is, as I said, the most studied mushroom in the world, and it's been used in conjunction with chemotherapy and cancer studies for a while. The Chinese have used it, the Russians have used it, Japanese have used it, and now it's making its way into Western culture, just like yoga did, just like other Eastern traditions did, because these are powerful plant medicines. And as far as I know, they're safe for everyone. They don't have any bad effects. I looked into whether or not it would impact someone on the Candida cleanse, because that's a common question, is are Ultimate Shrooms gonna, feed Candida or feed any type of, condition like that? And the answer is no. There's no yeast, there's no starches, there's no any other things that are going to cause Candida to grow. In fact, the beta-glucans are going to elevate your immune system and fight off Candida. So the Candida diet actually advocates that people use these medicinal mushrooms. Now, other people will say they're allergic to mushrooms. Now, if you've actually had, an allergy test done, then, be careful and ingest them in small amounts. But a lot of times what they're allergic to might be the mushroom that's like in their culinary cuisine or in their dish. And that might not be the same type of trigger that would be these same medicinal mushrooms. These are extracted from the fruiting bodies. What it is a hot water extraction where very hot temperature water is used to basically cook these mushrooms for a couple of hours. And then they take that liquid and they spray it against a sheet. And that is going to create the powder. And it's low temperature dried off the sheet and then low temperature ground to preserve the integrity of the product. That's what we do with all of our superfoods. And then they're imported and they're bottled in California at our production facility, our organic facility. And they are blended and bottled. And we do that to preserve the integrity, put them in amber glass. And the big reason I'm explaining this process of how we extract them is because hot water extraction means that you can use Ultimate Shrooms in hot liquids, like in a hot coffee, in hot waters, a tea. You can use them in cold water. Now, Ultimate Elixir has a lot of these alkalizing greens in it. And the greens and the superfruits, they are sensitive to temperatures above 118 degrees Fahrenheit, even 112. At that temperature, 112 to 118, you start to lose enzymes and vitamins and other cofactors and phytonutrients. They get destroyed. That's what raw food means. Raw food means it's uncooked, that it's below 118 degrees. Now, Ultimate Shrooms, we don't have to worry about that because they've been cooked at high temperatures. You can use them at high temperatures. You can get creative. You can get your latte at any of your little places you go, a fun little, hey, and then guess what? Add in the shrooms for some super benefits. So if you drink coffee, definitely add in shrooms because our Ultimate Shrooms will lower the acidity and boost the anti-inflammatory value. Let's talk about that for a second. I read an article the other day, again, about reishi. Reishi is known to fight lupus and arthritis. It's actually the #1 natural cure for lupus. You can check Google and you'll see the same information. Lupus is an autoimmune disease that mainly affects women, and it means that your immune system is freaking out. And Ultimate Shrooms is the solution for that. Someone emailed me the other day asking about lupus. I've known a couple women in Miami that have had lupus, and it's a debilitating disease. They lose all energy. Their health goes down so quick. Ultimate Shrooms is going to bring you back up. Trust me on this one. Just give it a try for 30 days. You'll see the difference. I would not put my name behind a product that I didn't feel is the most incredible product out there with uncompromising standards. So arthritis, that's a condition a lot of people have, especially as we age, rheumatoid arthritis in the joints. Also, systemic inflammation in the body is something that almost all Americans fight due to our diets of standard American food. You know, we generally have foods in us that create inflammation, like sugar, wheat, dairy, meat, alcohol, donuts, ice cream. Those are all inflammatory foods. And what happens is it causes systemic inflammation throughout the body that you don't always notice in the joints, but it can lead to degenerative and even life-threatening illnesses. Ultimate Shrooms basically is 8 adaptogens, and these are really magical. People come up to me at events and they're like, oh my God, shrooms, because we have this sign that says get shroomed, and they're like, are they the magic mushrooms? And I'm like, actually they are. I wish the public put as much interest in these mushrooms as they put into the psilocybin and the other magic mushrooms that people experiment with in their teenage years or in their other years. Guess what? These are more powerful than those. And those are great too. They even show that those are good for antidepressant and for people battling mental illness. Well, Ultimate Shrooms, we're truly unlocking the secrets of ancient Chinese wisdom here. And let me tell you that when we test these, we test them before and after bottling for heavy metals. We test them for impurities. We test them for pesticides, for any type of, microbial growth. They do plate testing before and after bottling, before they ship them out our lab, to make sure that when we seal these bottles and they're airtight sealed in amber glass, that they're viable and very potent for up to, I believe it's 1.5 to 2 years. These are kosher, non-GMO, vegan, 100% raw with nothing artificial added. They're made in the USA. And we're supporting farmers that have thousands of years of traditional use of these products. That's another reason why we're importing them from China rather than going with U.S. is because a lot of the mushroom farmers in the U.S. that we looked into, they're growing their mushrooms on brown rice, and they're using the mycelium. And I was talking about that earlier. And if you read your label and you find mycelium in your product, what basically you're eating or consuming in your supplement is brown rice. You're paying, $20 or $30 for fancy brown rice, and you're getting the placebo effect, if any effect. With Ultimate Shrooms and this beta glucan value of 30% or above, that's what one of the leading thinkers in mushrooms, Jeff Chilton, who's one of my friends, he has been growing mushrooms since the mid-'70s. And he's been working with the Chinese farmers since 1996 to develop USDA organic standards in China. Our mushrooms are USDA organic. And we are supporting farmers that are smaller business, smaller family-owned farmers. These are not mega corporations. This is not a city-grown mushroom. They're not grown in anywhere with bad air quality. These are actually grown in the countryside. We're testing them for everything, and we're finding that their beta-glucan values in the fruiting bodies are 30 to 50 times what they would show up in the mycelium. In the mycelium, the beta-glucans are trace amounts, as in 1 to 2% or even less than 1%. Now, some people would say, well, Brian, why don't we have beta-glucan levels of 100%? And that would be an unrealistic expectation. 30% beta-glucan values is a very high value. That basically means that there's a lot of other components in the mushrooms besides beta-glucans. Beta-glucans are the most famous, the most buzzwordy, but there's also triterpenoids, ergosterols, polysaccharides. Let me think. There's chaga has something in it called betulinic acid because it grows on the betula species of paper birch. So they're forming these interesting compounds when they decompose wood. Mushrooms are decomposers. They're meant to grow on wood, not on brown rice. When you grow them on brown rice, they don't produce the same medicinal compounds as they do on wood. Okay, so they need to grow on their normal host substrate. Substrate is like the wood they grow on. So chaga grows on birch, reishi grows on black cherry, on oak, on other species, and they basically, when the tree's dying, they help it decompose, or once it's dead. Cordyceps is called the famous caterpillar mushroom. It actually programs the caterpillar or the ant to climb a tree and die. And then the fungus sprouts, the fruiting body sprouts out of its head. Now that might seem a little crazy, but nature is a pretty cool thing, right? And guess what? We don't use the cordyceps that come from ants or caterpillars. We are a vegan company. Now that brings me to one small nuance in the product, is that 7 of the 8 mushrooms are from the fruiting bodies grown on wood logs. Cordyceps, in the early 2000s, they figured out how to grow it in a laboratory. And it's this really cool orange mushroom. Let me show it to you. And basically, they found a way to grow it vegan now, so they don't have to use caterpillars or ants, and it's much more cost effective, but it still has all the same medicinal properties because, again, we're using the fruiting bodies. I want you to all go to Google and type in fruiting body mushrooms, beta-glucans, mycelium, and immunomodulating compounds. Learn about the science, about why a lot of doctors are now realizing that in conjunction with chemotherapy, you should be taking things like turkey tail and lion's mane, cordyceps, and chaga. As a marathon runner, to close this discussion, as I mentioned before, I turned 40 in a couple months. I'm still competing at a high level. Back around the age of 18, about 22 years ago, one of my good friends who lives in Maui now, he's a vegan nutritionist, and he turned me on to cordyceps about 20 years ago because he knew I was so into soccer and running, and he knew it was going to help me with my stamina and also with my oxygen utilization to my muscles, and also with coping with stress and fatigue. These mushrooms are great for adrenal fatigue support. They're great for fatigue and stress. They're great for elevating mood. So I started using cordyceps about 20 years ago, and I've kind of ordered it every month since. And I was ordering from a company that I won't disclose right now. And guess what? About 2 years ago, when we developed Ultimate Shrooms, when we started going through the prototypes, I looked into the product I was ordering. I finally read the label for myself. I finally took my own advice, and I saw that it contained myceliated mushroom substrate. And that's what it was. It wasn't fruiting body at all. I was taking a liquid form of cordyceps, which is pretty expensive. I was paying about $30 for 1 ounce of it at a time. I was buying it once a month. I would use it every day religiously under the tongue. And I did notice a performance-enhancing benefit from it. But I looked into it, and that label, and by the way, it's not required to put on the label where you're getting the mushroom from. There's no law on the books that says you have to say anything other than the word cordyceps. You don't have to say fruiting body. You don't have to say myceliated substrate or full spectrum mushroom, including the spores, fruiting body, mycelium, and everything else included. There's no law. And by the way, one little thing, when they grow the mycelium, which is the underground root network of the mushroom, they can't separate it from the substrate. They have to include the substrate with it. And that's why in America, and in a lot of places, they're taking shortcuts now on these mushrooms. They're growing them in hoop houses or in aseptic greenhouse conditions under these basically big warehouse settings, not a natural environment at all. They're growing them on brown rice. It's not its natural substrate, as I said. It's not going to produce the same compounds. They did a study of 27 reishi products and found that only 6 of them on the market, or 5, contained the full spectrum of compounds found in reishi, which is a whole collection of these, compounds that are known to boost your immune system, fight cancer, fight inflammation. They found that you can't separate the mycelium from the substrate. Because how would you do that? How would you pull this microscopic matrix that grows underground with the mushroom? How do you pull that apart from the brown rice? You can't. So basically what they do is they bottle and form into pills or tablets, the brown rice substrate or whatever substrate they're growing it on with the mushroom. And you're, again, buying the brown rice. So instead, I learned with my cordyceps that now I'm taking 100% fruiting body mushrooms, and I started doing that in the last year and a half. I haven't taken any of my psyllium related products, and I'll tell you that I set a new PR in a couple of distances. That means personal record or personal best. I'm just trying to reevaluate my whole health regime and routine now as I get older and age. I want to age really well. I want to have the energy levels of a 20-year-old and redefine, what it means to be 40 and an athlete. So overall, we're encouraging you just to read your labels and to try these products out. Hit me up, Brian the Botanist. Again, this is a product that I'm so proud of. It's called Ultimate Shrooms, and it's known as nature's most powerful immune support. And what else about it? It's USDA organic. This is good for cellular health, DNA integrity. It helps to reverse signs of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Now, that's a tricky subject, dementia, but basically if you catch these things early enough, you can reverse these symptoms through things like medicinal mushrooms and also through crossword puzzles, through stimulating your brain by being more, reading books, being more intellectual, having conversations with people rather than just being glued to our phones. Doing crossword puzzles, as I said, making even puzzles, word games, brings me back to a memory of when I played Taboo with Serena Williams a couple years ago. That would be an instance of using your brain rather than, letting your brain deteriorate. So, Ultimate Shrooms for brain strength, for immune support, for cancer fighting, for athletic performance, for a good mood, for lowering blood sugar and cholesterol levels, healthy aging, fertility, stamina, libido, and metabolism. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.